it's okay to take a break. And I tell myself, and that self-love part of saying, it's okay, Janine, you're not going to get to it all. It's okay if you postpone this deadline. It's okay if you miss this opportunity because more opportunities will come. And you have to be able to give yourself that love.
Yeah.
So very excited to have my friend Dr. Janine Lee here. She's tuning in from San Francisco. Janine, thank you so much for joining us. We got a lot to talk about, but first, let's talk about your specialty in the workplace of belonging. Let's be honest, I think it's a keyword that's been thrown around quite a bit, and I'm so grateful you've done this research because now things are changing. So tell me a little bit more. What are we understanding or what are we not understanding? Like, how do we do this thing called workplace and belonging?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Monica. So, yes, I published my dissertation last year on sense of belonging in the workplace, and more specifically, I focused on sense of belonging as it pertains to women of color in technology. But through that research, I had a whole lot of literature on belonging and DEI. And I think the first thing is people need to understand what belonging means and how it's different than diversity, equity, and inclusion. So, belonging is really the degree where the individual feels personally accepted, respected, included, and supported at work.
You have a global team and a global workforce. So, on top of that, I feel like there's additional, and we're still navigating hybrid, remote. How do we make sense of it?
Mhm.
What are additional components that we have to keep in mind because of these three variables, for instance?
Oh, so many things. I could give you a laundry list of things to think about.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So I think the first thing you mentioned about like global pandemic and this environment and all of these different things, first you have to think about the modality that best suits your learners. Some do better through whether it's a virtual course or an in-person course. Some do better through more practice and application. And actually now the trend in the industry is to move towards more practice and application. So it's actually hands-on, whether it's like experiential learning where people are doing simulations. For example, you could do like a manager coaching simulation where you have them have different scenarios that they're practicing with their peers, or moving to something more hands-on where they're actually following a process from start to finish and they're actually following step one all the way to the end. So I think the modality of the training is always really critical to understand what will best suit your learners. And if you do a really comprehensive needs analysis, you should be understanding what at large are your learners' needs. And of course, it depends on your budget and resourcing, but then you could look at other dynamics like the global aspect.
I guess the number one question is we want to make sure Dr. Janine is not burned out. So how do you take care of yourself? Because I know you're very involved in your community, you're in your teaching, also through content creation, making sure this information is accessible. How do you make sure you balance this all? Because it could creep up.
It's so hard because I always tell people sometimes it doesn't feel like work because I love so much of what I do and I'm so
Mhm.
passionate about it that it is easy to burn out because you might not feel like you're actually
Mm.
working. So I will first and foremost say that I don't know that I have solved for this completely in my life. I've been more cognizant about it in my life. I think the word balance is really key. So, what are moments that you need to lean in and lean out of different spaces in your life? And where can you add the most value and impact? So, I might have a running list of a lot of things that I need to get done or that I want to do, but maybe they don't have the biggest reach and the biggest audience. And so, I think really conscientiously of, okay, if I spend my time like really having this one speaking engagement versus 10 or 20 with smaller audiences, maybe that's not being widely distributed, then maybe my impact can be more scalable. So I think about scalability a lot. The second thing is I also am extremely organized. So I calendar my time and I calendar both personal and professional time. I color code everything. I color code work time. So I really just try to carve things out. And then I think the most important thing out of all of this for balance is self care and self love. So it's thinking about what is the one thing in the whole entire week that you're doing that's truly, really for yourself and no one else.
Yeah.
And I've even made a list of the things that I consider for me. So things like taking a bubble bath, getting a massage, getting
Oh,
my nails done, right? Going to yoga. So I write
yeah.
down a list of things and then I constantly keep looking and making sure that it's okay. It's okay to take a break. And I tell myself, and that self love part of saying, it's okay, Janine, you're not going to get to it all. It's okay if you postpone this deadline. It's okay if you miss this opportunity because more opportunities will come. And you have to be able to give yourself that love. That's up to you. And then that dictates how much you have on your plate and how much you have to balance and how much you have to juggle. So I would just challenge people to really think about that. And then the last thing I will say is that I spent a lot of my life thinking about my life mission and my life vision. And I know that might sound really big and lofty and profound to a lot of people, like, why do I exist in this on this earth? So my life mission is to inspire others to reach their full potential. And my life vision is to create a world where others belong. And everything that I do needs to align to that mission and vision, or I don't take it on.